see you there. It must be time for Enterprise at 8. That's right, guys. This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise rewatch series. It's been, I'm going to go with around 20 years.
20 years?
That's right, Trip. 20 years since tonight's episode, which is E squared, I guess it would
E squared is how we're supposed to
first aired, but we're just getting started here at Enterprise at 8. I'm Jody Simpson. Along with me is my co-host and the man whose son isn't nearly 3 times his age, Adam Woodward.
Hey, Jody.
Hi.
No, he isn't. He is not.
Well, you didn't have any sort of time paradox or anything, so I guess that works out well.
That would be very interesting, though. I quite like this episode.
I'm not totally sure I'd want my son to be 3 times older than me. Anyway, joining Adam and I is Live Long and Podcast Master Producer and the man who thinks attacking his ancestors sounds pretty logical, Dave Mater.
I hit the wrong banner there. Sorry. Yeah, it sounds illogical to me, but
no, it's logical to you.
How else do you become king?
Well, it's true.
Exactly.
How do you become king?
That's the only way.
Dave does have royalty in his family and his back heritage.
Go back far enough.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole. We'd have to take you through the nether regions of my family tree and lots of things.
I don't want you to ever talk about your nether regions again.
I certainly don't want to take a trip through them.
Nor do we want to take a trip through your nether regions.
Through the expanse of my nether regions.
I don't want
you call your nether regions
either.
All right. Find the Xindi, I say.
Oh God, this is going off the rails really quickly. And of course, who can forget the man that is so awesome? He doesn't need a cool introduction because I didn't write one for him. Kevin Millard.
I am that cool. Yes,
it's true.
I concur.
He's
well,
baseball
not
cool.
as cool because you did go to a baseball game recently.
Yeah,
right.
That sounds like baseball.
That does sound like baseball. Thank you, Cisco. All right, tonight's episode is E squared. This is the 72nd episode. Can you believe we've done 72 of these already, guys?
Wow.
We're
We're almost up to original series numbers here.
We're going to surpass them soon.
Yeah.
What are they? 92,
79.
96?
So
is it 79? Okay.
In 7 episodes, we're
passing them. All right, there you go. So this episode is about an accident during an attempt to use the Xindi subspace corridor places the Enterprise in a bizarre confrontation with itself. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Anyway, so what do we think of this one, guys?
Boring. Not this episode. I'm answering Sam.
Sam was asking how the baseball game went.
I could have answered that for you.
Sam's on the road. What side of the road do they drive on in Newfoundland anyway?
The same side that we do.
Oh, okay. Just checking. All right. Yeah. Okay, guys. This episode, I love it and I hate it at the same time.
See, I'm with you on this. There's some things that I like about it. There's other things that are just stupid.
Can I ask you why you hate it? Is it because they went off course? Literally again. And
no.
Okay.
No, I know Kevin is going to tell me it doesn't matter, Dave, and whatever. But my big gripe with this episode is that it's very, very similar to a Deep Space Nine episode called Children of Time. That. Again, like I feel like when I watched this back in 2004, I was like, they're just ripping off all their old episodes. I was so fed up with Enterprise because I was like, they almost did a good episode, but I was ruined by the fact that all I can think about is this other episode now that I've already seen. So and how it compares to that episode, it's not.
That sounds like a you problem, though.
I don't think I'm the only one, but we'll find out.
I'm usually okay with them recycling premises if they do it well, and this is. Okay.
This monitor is just my stand.
I don't dislike this episode, but it left me wanting more. But
right. I think that's the other thing. It's like even though it's a recycled premise, okay, fine, and it's different enough, and I think that it's good in some ways, but I also feel like it could have been like a 2-parter this episode, and I feel like there was a lot more to I'm
going to let you in on a secret, Dave. This is a 2-parter. The way they end this episode, this is a 2-part episode.
Okay.
Whether they officially make it a 2-part episode or not, it is.
Well, I think Dave wants more with the family and stuff like that, not necessarily, the continuation of the story.
I suppose, yeah.
That's what I'm guessing anyway, Dave. Certainly correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that there was just I think with the whole thing I think it would trip into Paul in particular. I think that there was a lot, the fact that they all went on to marry different members of the crew or whatever, that was all kind of done in Deep Space Nine too. Mm-hmm.
So Dave, your point is well taken, and actually, I'll just say it now. But Mike Sussman actually pointed out the fact that he didn't want to do this episode because it was so similar to Taste 9 episode. But the executive producers overruled him and said, "Do it.
Do it anyway." No one saw that episode except for Dave, and he's the only one who's going to care.
Yeah.
So, being a Karen, you're right. I want to speak to their manager, and looks like I don't even need to talk to the writer's manager. They were the ones who made him do it in the first place. I think that also the guy who plays, is it Lorien? He's like the son of T'Pol and Trip, like from the future or whatever, or the past.
Yes, which is a play on a Lord of the Rings character.
He's a little boring to me in this episode. I don't think it's a great performance. Like, it's fine, but I think that they could have got someone.
See, I thought that's exactly what he would be, though. Wow, something's going on.
He measured. Well, yeah, I guess he's kind of meets the expectation.
Well, because he's the mixture of the people that he created him, right? So it would be, to me, I think he really is exactly the way he would be.
I get it's not the way they wrote him. It's more just the way it's the actor, I think, that I don't care for. David Andrews, whoever that is.
Yeah, I can't say he was my favorite out of everybody that was introduced in this episode, but
he's from like the worst Terminator movie, Terminator 3.
Oh, that's where I know him from.
General, Claire Danes' dad.
Yeah, he's Claire Danes' dad in Terminator 3.
Now I remember that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was the whole episode. I'm like, who? I know this guy from somewhere.
Yeah, he was.
It's been a long time since I've seen Terminator 3, though. So,
Rise of the Machines, they called it. So
that was the one with the girl, right? The girl Terminator.
That's Claire Danes, and the girl Terminator, whatever her name was. Yeah, the TX or something. That she's a Terminator, and then it had the was it Nick Stahl who played? Not Nick.
Oh,
yeah.
I think you're right. I think it was Nick Stahl.
Who played John Connor in that one? Yeah, that's the one that a lot of people forget about. It's actually not even the worst Terminator movie. I don't think.
It's not. Definitely not the worst.
No,
it's fine. It's
fine.
It's passable.
But speaking of Terminator movies and time travel, more of that going on here. Kevin, I know you're a sucker.
I would have liked a little more T'Pol and old T'Pol.
Yeah, we only got a little bit of
feelings
the episode
about the Trillium, and I would have liked a lot more of that.
Yeah, I can
right.
that.
That's where I felt like there was more that they could go through here. I felt like they really aged up T'Pol, I think, more than they needed to in this old age makeup. Like, she's like, based on just seeing how she even Spock was not this frail. And he's half human, like 100 years later, right? So
which is interesting because Vulcans they live for quite a while,
300 years.
Yeah,
300 years. So she's only at half life at this point.
She's only halfway. Yeah, she's at middle age
because they established she was in her 30s, I think.
60s. She's in her 60s.
She's in her 60s. You're right. So that would put her at about 160 right now. So she's about midway in her life. So how much more frail are you going to get now? Is this because of her Trillium thing, though?
Trillium D, I guess you could write that into it.
Addressed it. They should have addressed. If that was the
they
case,
should have actually said something about it. Yeah. Well, they did have that little scene where she's like, did you kick the habit? Blah blah blah, and it's like now you have the emotions, and you're gonna have those for the rest of your life. So they did kind of address that. I guess.
Oh, they addressed that part of it. Sure, I would have liked a lot more of that. I would have liked this to have been a more T'Pol centered episode.
I agree.
Yeah, we meet Lorianne here in the cold open where she's like, you're gonna have to find Jonathan Archer, and we're meant to know this is T'Pol. Like, I don't know if the old age makeup was meant to be a misdirect. I guess
I don't think so. You knew right away.
It's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say about this episode that usually I don't is I don't like how she acted as an old T'Pol. I think she just didn't do it really well. I think, it was all the, just keep adding the every time you're saying something.
It was
that doesn't make you old,
But yeah, I don't know. I think it was, yeah.
And there's also a scene when she first comes in and talks to old T'Pol, like new T'Pol talks in, or
young
T'Pol. Yeah. And obviously they had to shoot it separately because, it's the same actress. But it clearly is like you can clearly see she's not looking where she's supposed to be looking. So I don't know. Maybe you'll catch it in your screenshots, but
We'll
it
get to
was
that
very
scene.
apparent. I'm like, she's not talking to anybody.
So after the credits, after the cold open, where we see this older T'Pol and a Vulcan guy we don't know, who hasn't been introduced to us yet. Then we come back and we got more candles in the quarters, because what do Vulcans love? Candles, meditation.
She's got a lot of candles going on now, like especially when she's older.
I think that this is a serious concern safety wise.
Yeah.
You're in a fixed environment. Like, this is like a submarine type environment. Like,
we saw that Tuvok was even willing to blow out a birthday
Yeah.
candle just because it was a fire hazard.
Well,
right? So.
Jody, you called it. I mean, I saw there was one scene in this where they were under fire, and then one of the ships was under fire. I think it was the 100-year-old version, and old T'Pol's got all these candles going, but nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So young T'Pol's meditating in her quarters, seeming to struggle. Then here comes Trip, who's here for some Vulcan neural pressure, even though he says, actually, I don't need it. He's trying to reconnect. He's, because they were getting along. They were doing the Vulcan neural pressure. They bring up the fact that they had
He just
sex.
wants to see her in her pajamas again. That's all.
Yeah. And she was like, she's trying to put distance between them, basically. She's trying to she's pushing him away throughout the scene,
Yeah.
So if he would have come in and just said, hey, I just want to have sex again, do you think she would have gone for it?
Maybe.
I think she may
I
have.
think that's a possible.
She's not looking for a relationship. That's for sure.
Yeah.
She's it was a one-time thing for her. She can't handle, I think, the gravity of the emotions or like the relationship or trying to, connect to a human.
I think her performance in the last few episodes as she's struggling with the emotions has been amazing. She always looks like she's afraid. Like,
yeah.
In
She's
every
a good actress. I've said
she
that.
looks like
and
she's afraid.
And has that like anxiety or sort of like that kind of
and very watery, almost to tears eyes, in the scene here, right?
Yeah, she's just trying to keep it together all the time.
But,
she's
but
always
also
on the
to, but also to the point, like, hey, how come nobody around her is noticing this? Like, nobody's like, hey, T'Pol. I mean, I know they're busy right now, and they're
busy. I think Archer's kind of
But-
noticing it, but he just doesn't have time to care about it. Really,
I guess maybe.
And the doctor knows about it, but he can't talk about it. And so then
I
Trip's
think
feeling.
Kevin, I think they know about it, and I think they acknowledge it, but they also need her,
They need her, yeah.
and they're just ignoring it essentially.
They don't have a choice at the moment. No, there's no transfers going on in the Expanse while they're out here, and so we get a transition here. We go to the command center, good old command center, where
Gotta love that command center.
they're heading to the place to meet up with Degra. Like, that's kind of what this is all about. I also want to mention Roxanne Dawson, B'Elanna Torres herself, directed this episode.
I want to point out too, you're talking about recycled premise.
Yeah.
This is recycled from 2 episodes ago. They have to go and meet Degra, and they're on a time crunch.
Right. It's always, we gotta get to meet Degra somewhere, and then we get like I think this scene with Degra and the other 2 Xindi, the one, the Arboreal. I feel like this is just setting up the next episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The next episode is the console, which is
if we bring Archer in front of the council, they'll kill him on sight. And what do you?
well, guess what he's doing in the next episode, Dave?
Yeah, he's going to the council. The next episode is called The Council. So I imagine that's where he's heading.
Yeah.
And Degra's the one. He's like the believer, but his other 2 Xindi friends here aren't as.
Those are some
yet.
tight curls he's got on there, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wonder who his stylist is.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're like, "Well, you're gonna see," and just like he's like, "What?" They wouldn't, because they're worried that the Xindi reptilians will fire on them if they try to protect Enterprise, and they're like,
Well, that's rightfully so, though, considering they've already fired on their own ships.
Oh, they
before.
already killed a Xindi reptilian ship.
Yeah.
And then this guy Rick Worthy, he's just like, "We'll see." I like the little.
That guy's been in everything.
Yeah. The little thing he says before the credits here, but yeah, that whole scene just feels like it's a setup. I guess so. We remember who Degra is when he shows up at the very end of the episode, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean,
because we can certainly forget about him.
Wasn't the last episode, but we left it 3 days. We got to meet you in 3 days.
I guess it was last episode, was it?
Yeah.
So okay. So then they're heading into this like nebula or whatever, and they have that's the secret passageway to get to meet the council in 3 days. Like we'll get there much faster. So they're going through, and then they start to detect the other ship. They think is it just a reflection of our ship, but it can't be because they haven't entered the nebula yet.
Weren't we under attack here first though?
No, not yet.
No, okay.
No, this is just when they're approaching the nebula, and it's NX class. They think, oh, is it Columbia? What is it? It can't be because that ship's still under construction. And then we get the reveal. It's Enterprise, NX-01, although looking not quite how the other ship looks, you know.
You say there's like wire wrapped around the saucer section there.
Well, there's like tons of different repairs done to it, and like even the bridge looks different. Like it's got like those like warp tube things.
Oh yeah, you can tell they've been refitting it for 100 years.
Yeah, just get a little bigger there. Yeah, and like the deflector dish has got this blue electrical look to it now. And
yeah, it doesn't have the original color.
Yeah. So because they never got to go to spaceport to get patched up, right? Or back to Jupiter station, right? So they're all like, what is this about? And then he's like, you can't.
I wonder if they have phase cannons.
Yeah,
they do.
They do, but they're blue.
They call it later.
Yeah. And so Archer's like, what the hell? What's this about? You know, just got to listen to us. We see that their bridge looks a little different, not too different. Now,
now I might be spoiling something that Adam's going to tell us later, but did anybody happen to look at that vest and go, I know that vest?
Yep. I feel like I know. I feel like I should know this vest, but
you definitely should know this vest. But anyway, that's fine.
It looks like a Maquis. For Adam. Is it a Maquis vest?
No.
Is it a Neelix vest?
Adam will tell you later.
I'll tell you later. Yeah.
Okay. So
Adam's got the 411 on that.
So anyway, the Lorien, who we come to know is the son of T'Pol and Trip, shows up here along with his first officer, Something Archer, who's like the great granddaughter of Jonathan Archer. We find out.
So once again, they let everybody on the ship without checking the story.
Well, they're pretty believing. Like they don't have a lot.
Where the fuck are the Bakos?
Yeah. There was a couple there. You saw them. There's
all they needed to do here, Dave.
There's one there.
Just open up the airlock, take some blood samples, and then deal with it.
Just leave them in the blood. Like how long does it take to analyze the sample in this world?
But you can see
it's not long.
See the differences there between the two ships when they're side by side.
I like the fact that they did this though as a shot though, because you really get the difference between the two. And
but you also see how beat up Enterprise. I mean,
Enterprise.
That's one thing I like about this show, though, because like we don't get to see any of the ships usually get that badly damaged over this long time period.
Yeah, normally they're fixed up pretty quickly.
They're fixed up in the next episode, right?
But also, especially exterior shots, we don't get a lot of damaged exterior shots in the other shots.
They always look still fairly pretty. Just there might be a little tiny chunk taken out of them, but. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty.
And we even get to see Enterprise through the mess hall window, when they go to have the conversation here, and then Lorien and Mrs. Archer, other Archer, his first officer.
I think it's like Karen Archer or something like that.
Yeah, what a Karen. He gives like this whole story. Well, the Enterprise flew into that nebula, and then you were attacked by the aliens, and they were chasing you. And then we get all these flashbacks that are through like this weird sort of like.
I didn't like this. I wish they would have done it a different way.
This is the CRT filter goodness.
It was disorienting and a little nauseating.
It was,
and not necessary either to like. We understand what a flashback is.
The thing that bothers me about this episode is I like the idea of it. I like some of the things of it, but it wasn't done right. Like it's so everything bugs me about this episode, but yet I still kind of like it. It's really weird.
In every other flashback too, they always say, 3 days ago, or
this one you didn't get anything. You got
this
no
is
context at all.
Technically a flash forward. It's a flashback.
Technically a flash forward, yeah.
It's a flashback for Lorien, but it's I don't know, and because he wasn't even born yet. But anyway, so we see that Enterprise went through the vortex and came out the other side to go meet Degra, but it was the right coordinates. But we see through the CRT flashbacks they're in the wrong place. There are in 2037. They're only 14 years from now, guys. They're going to show up. So just in space, long before Zephyr Cochrane does his warp flight. Interesting choice, I thought, to kind of put them in this particular year. And they're trying to figure out what to do. There's the confused CRT Archer.
So this is the first time they've ever gone back in time or had a time episode where T'Pol said, "I don't believe in time travel."
Right. Well, you think that since they were able to get back from like Detroit, you think Daniels would show up here and help out, in this situation. But maybe this was all meant to happen. Maybe, I don't know. So
this isn't part of the temporal Cold War. It doesn't matter.
It seems like it would change the time. Like if Archer didn't, if he went back in time like this,
change everything. Yeah,
it would change a lot of things. So anyway, so Lorian given the story, and Archer's a little bit skeptical, but they kind of talk about how.
Well, it's that good old 3 minutes skepticism that Archer has, though. Ever notice, like, when he's skeptic about something, it only takes him about 3 minutes of episode time to actually get over it?
Sometimes.
Almost always.
It depends. It depends on.
He's like, oh, we looked at their blood. Okay.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
So they tell this whole story, and then I think this is where Lorian doesn't even call T'Pol mom or mother right away, but then he's like, he says
he does shoot down the mom eventually.
The fact that he has the Vulcan ears, you think would be a giveaway, But he's like, "Hey, mom," and she's like, "What the hell? I'm not your mom, bro." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you are."
She's like, "I only massaged him. That's it."
Yeah, there was only neural pressure. So and Archer's hearing this, and then that the other one, she's like,
Trip was applying some sort of neural pressure,
right? Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, here's our DNA.
I went there.
Why don't you test our DNA and figure out if we are? They kind of tell them because T'Pol says, how could you survive for 100 years? You didn't have enough fuel, you didn't have enough food, whatever. And they're like, well, we just traded for it and we got it.
I like the fact that Archer's kid, though, or Archer's descendants come from some alien race that he picked up. Nobody from the ship.
That's classic Kirk style, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't that change the timeline too? They said, oh, we can't go to Earth because we'll contaminate our own timeline. So we'll go contaminate other timelines?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as they don't screw up Earth.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
They're also talking about he sent them on a mission to stop the first weapon. Is that not changing the timeline?
It is, but they failed. But they failed at it. They failed at that mission, even though they had a long time to prepare for it somehow.
Well, let's not get into timey-wimey
stuff
because, we can argue Back to the Future and how that definitely couldn't happen, but that's fine. It's still awesome, and I like it.
This movie does kind of break your brain around time paradoxes, but or this episode. Well, it's about the same as Children of Time, because even though they should cease to exist. And in Children of Time, they do cease to exist, like the Descendants. But here, it's not clear what happens.
As they say in Austin Powers, it's best not to think about it.
It's best not to think about it. I think Janeway says that in a couple episodes. She's like, when it comes to temporal mechanics, don't even worry about it. It's all made up. So, anyway, but the scene here where Phlox gives the whole reveal, he's like, oh, yeah, Lorian's your son. And guess who the dad is? Commander Tucker. And she's like, what? Even though it shouldn't be that big.
Would have been better if they did a Maury Povich type thing,
you
Maury
are the father.
Yeah, Maury Povich is there, and he's he's processing it as one of the people that work in sick bay, and he's like, just so you know, you are the father.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been awesome.
I love that Trip is delighted, just delighted.
Yeah,
he's way into it. He's finding out everything about his kids.
Yeah. But it's not just him. Mayweather's excited. They're all excited. And the one guy,
Malcolm,
not Malcolm. But we'll get to him. But this whole scene here where it's Trip talking to Lorian about being his dad and the fact that Lorian's much older than him now, and only in the Expanse he could have a son 3 times his age. But we also find out in this scene that Trip dies when Lorian's 14 years old. They all died. All of the Enterprise original crew died somewhere along the way.
But Lorian also said he's over 100 years old.
Yeah, he's the oldest of the crew for sure, other than T'Pol, who is 60 years older or so.
T'Pol and Trip didn't waste any time once they were stuck.
Right,
any time at all.
Apparently.
Yeah, it seems like Lorian's born not that long after, you know.
Yeah.
So they get stuck in the past. And so, but yeah, he tells him about that. He's like, you were a good dad until you died. Weird to tell you that now.
That was a nice scene.
Nice scene. Then we go over to the future Enterprise here with Archer and his descendant, who is the first officer of the ship. We see,
great granddaughter.
His great granddaughter, yeah. Which we find out she's part alien because he saved an alien lady, and that's who he married somewhere along the way.
But we're going over Phlox's. We went Phlox's part though, where it's like, yeah, Phlox had 9 kids.
9 kids with whoever Amanda is. But he's like, yeah, they had 9.
But there's all these little Phloxes running around. It's like that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, a lot.
If anybody was going to have that many kids, it would be.
But just another wife, Jody. Just another wife.
Right. Was
another one.
Was Phlox really just with Amanda? He has 9 kids with Amanda. How many does he have? He might have. Crew?
This guy might be responsible for populating like half the Earth planet after a while.
Yeah.
Half the ship.
How many Phlox kids are on other planets?
That's true. How many did he leave?
Yeah.
He's starting a whole legion there, so
yeah.
I don't know.
And he just give you that shit ass smile and
yeah, he's just like probably. Oh yeah. Who played Little Phlox? I couldn't tell you. We'll see if that comes up in fun facts. Anyway, but we see that the Enterprise interior is a little different too. Like after 150 years, they put this yellow coloring down at the bottom. The lightings are slightly more yellowish.
Well, I'm guessing they salvage stuff from various things, right? So like they have to kind of work with whatever they have available.
Oh yeah. No, I just it's a nice design touch
because they don't have replicators yet, right?
No.
Yeah.
They have protein resequencers, which is kind of a primitive replicator. But
they wouldn't be able to replicate like hull parts and stuff like that.
No. And we also see that they're not wearing the uniforms anymore, guys. They're all gone to civilian clothes in this time by this time period.
They're secretly marquee.
Well, they're not. None of them are Starfleet.
Yeah. Well, that's true. None of them are Starfleet.
But somebody is the captain, you know. So, but yeah, I guess you're right. They're not Starfleet.
It would have been cool if they had one remaining, uniform in play. Somebody tying them to the past.
Yeah,
or they all wear like a pink jumpsuit like T'Pol does, because it's all that's available.
Even if like Archer's uniform had been like kept in a glass case or something, maybe I don't know. But anyway, so she's like, "Hey, somebody wants to say hi," and then he takes him. And these are T'Pol's quarters in his time as well as her this time.
They look pretty much the same, yeah.
Looks pretty much the same. The others, except for the lighting, is a little yellower. And she's like, "Hey, Jonathan," and they have kind of like this scene where he's like, he's happy to see her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I think Lorian wants you to go through the portal." The whole many husbands, many wives thing isn't a Denoblian thing; it's a Phlox thing. Phlox is full of shit, maybe. Could be.
That's possible.
He's like, "Oh yeah, we're all polygamous on Denoblia." So. Yeah, I know. Like it was kind of a moment here with Phlox, with old T'Pol and Archer. It's fine. It didn't really move me or anything, but a moment. And then this is a scene where it's Hoshi and Mayweather talking about their future, who they married, and how many kids they had, and it's very similar to a scene in Children of Time where they're like, "Oh yeah, I married so and so." Extra you never hear about, and don't you want to know who you married now? I'd rather it be a secret.
It's,
right?
The scene with O'Brien and Bashir, I think.
Yeah. Bashir's like, "Oh yeah, I married some ensign. What's her name?"
And he's like, "I'm gonna go find her right now." Basically,
yeah. Well, you should ask her on a date. But we find out here that Reed did not marry anybody.
So, Lieutenant, who'd you end up with on the other Enterprise? Did you get married? Have kids?
No, actually I didn't. Apparently the Reed family line came to a rather unceremonious end. You'd think on a ship quite this size I would have been able to find someone, but...
Women only make up a third of the crew. There were bound to be a few bachelors left over.
Yeah.
She's just being nice. Nobody wants to touch you.
Yeah, and then they both leave right away.
Yeah, they're both like, "Gotta go."
So a third of the crew are women. So yeah, like there would have been a third of the crew, unless they had multiple wives.
And Phlox had like 8 of them.
Yeah, sure. Phlox probably married 8 of the third of the crew. But we see her this crewman lady comes in, and then Reed's like, "Well, hello there. Can I sit with you?" But he already knows
Now,
this is futile.
This girl has been in the episode before though.
Yeah,
she was in last week's episode too.
I didn't get a great shot of her here, but
it was literally the same type of scene. Like it was literally, you want to sit here?
Yeah. But
so like, you think he's regretting his behavior or something here, and now he's thinking, okay, I got to be a little nicer to people.
Right. Good for him. Growth.
One thing I thought was interesting about the scene.
Whoa, hold on. We don't evolve Malcolm's story at all. Like, let's not do that.
One thing I thought was interesting about the scene as well was that that Mayweather and Hoshi both call him Lieutenant. They don't call him Malcolm. They don't call him by his name.
No, because nobody likes him. He's a dick.
You know, he's in this. He's
even
not an ensign.
Mines try to kill him.
They always call him Sir as well. Like they don't.
Yeah, even though he's in the middle. He's in the middle of the rank structure, right? So he's.
But I think he's like almost too military. You know,
well, that's the problem. Yeah.
You know,
formal.
It's probably by his direction that they do that, not theirs.
Right. Yeah. We kind of knew this about him from the first season. No one could figure out what his favorite birthday cake flavor was or whatever.
Pineapple, apparently.
Turns out it was pineapple.
Pineapple cake.
Yeah, do you remember that?
I hated him from that.
That's why people don't like him.
Yeah, but go back to that episode, because they were trying so hard for somebody to tell them something personal about this guy, and they couldn't not find anybody. So this is not new.
No. This is consistent with his character.
Okay, just imagine for a second, guys, you're little and you're invited to a birthday party, and then they pull out a cake and it's pineapple. You're never talking to this kid again.
No,
like only if it's pineapple.
And on top of that, you're taking your GI Joes back. Like you're.
And I like pineapple, but pineapple cake, no thanks. Yeah. There's
better
so
flavors.
many better flavors.
It's just so wrong. It's so wrong.
I'm with you guys. Okay, Malcolm, you're gonna die alone and with nobody. It seems like.
And this is it. We don't hear from him again for this episode.
That's it. That's pretty much him in the episode.
I absolutely love that they did that to him. You're going to be lonely and die alone. Anyway, moving on.
Even Mayweather found love. Okay, here you go. And
so
Hoshi did. Hoshi had 2 kids.
But it's also not very logical to, like, if you've got a crew of 1/3 women and 2/3 men. First of all, there's going to be some fighting, I'm sure. But if you want to keep the species going, you should probably spread that wealth around, that gene pool.
Right. Yeah. Each woman should probably have a kid with a different father.
Well, that's what the Denoblian's for.
Yes.
He did a good job.
Yeah. He's like, don't worry.
He's spreading that seed. Don't you worry.
Or just go ahead and stop at a few more planets.
Yeah, pick up a few more aliens.
Right? Yeah, Archer solved that problem for himself. There's no crew members. I got it covered.
Maybe go back to the cowboy planet.
See, I would have thought like Archer and Hoshi might have been a thing to end up.
You know what? Yeah.
Because in the Mirror universe, we know that they did, and so it's
right.
Sometimes,
well,
and they seem like
everybody wants to be with Hoshi in the Mirror universe.
That's true.
Damn.
Yeah, finally she gets a badass episode.
I know, she's a total.
Oh, we lost Jody. So guys, we're on the scene here where oh, there he is. Where Archer confronts. Bringers, do it.
Apparently, I hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I've done that before.
One fell on the keyboard, and then
so when Archer confronts Lorian about his stupid plan and the fact that both DePauls agree that his plan is pretty foolish, and he's like, Archer not too impressed with this.
Archer's never impressed.
He's like, we're supposed to be together in this, and he's going at it, and but much like in Children of Time. Lorian is too focused on everything that's come over the last 100 years and his crew, and
but you get a snapshot of that though, because you get the burden that he has, right? Like he told his captain like he was going to continue this mission, he was going to get it done.
Yeah,
he fucked it up.
He promised Jonathan Archer on his deathbed many years ago, whenever that was.
Yeah. He's like, I got to get this done, and he didn't get it done.
And
so
the difference between this and Children of Time is he's not doing this for his own survival.
Right.
Whereas in Children of Time, they were just trying to ensure
They're
their
just
own
trying to survive
their own
themselves,
survival and history and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't really care about that. The crew of this Enterprise just wants to stop the Xindi as well,
Right.
and stop
Yeah.
the weapon. They disagree with Archer on kind of how to go about it from here. And then Lorian goes to see old T'Pol. He's all mad at her for screwing it up. He's like, if it was Vulcan that was going to be destroyed, I bet you would care a lot more, Mom.
Oh,
You know?
I was like, respect your mother, you fuck.
Yeah,
I was waiting for her to slap him.
How are you?
I was
the
like, you
captain?
slap that bitch. Don't
Yeah.
take that crap. That's your mother you're talking to.
Yeah, she's
you
like,
jerk.
she starts like, you listen to me, Sonny. You know,
This is where I agree with you guys. I think that they aged her too much. Because
Yeah.
I would have
Yes.
expected to see a little more fight from her during this scene.
Yeah. I think that they just wanted her to look older than this actor playing Lorian, but that they didn't really have to do that.
But when you look at Mark Leonard and
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Leonard half the time looked younger than Spock.
Like Tuvok was 100 years old and he looked like
he
was
looked
40.
younger than most people on Voyager.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
But even like in what was the episode of Next Gen where reunification?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yes, okay. Yeah.
Spock and Sarek looked almost the same age.
Almost
They
identical.
They
Actually,
kind of were in real life.
I would say Nimoy probably looked even older, but
Yeah. But yeah, so coming up here, and then this is where Lorian and his crew decide that they can't trust Archer, that they're going to have to steal his plasma injectors because Archer won't go through the plan or whatever, and they're all kind of against it. But Lorian.
So does this scene remind you very much of when Archer a few episodes ago said, "We're taking over. We're taking their plasma coils or whatever."
Yeah.
It was like,
Right.
A
little bit. I think it's supposed to mirror that a bit. Yeah.
It's the first thing I thought.
I think it's on purpose though. I think
sure it's on purpose.
Yeah, I think it's on purpose because I think they want to show you the parallels between the two parties. Like, this is what 100 years of desperation will lead to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So they agree, and then meanwhile, there's this other scene here between Trip and T'Pol, young T'Pol. To be more specific here.
Great scene.
Yeah, where he's like, we got married, and I'm even gonna. This is my favorite thing. I'm even gonna make a palm tree. Where's
I'm even supposed to manufacture a palm tree.
a palm tree? Just the way he says that.
He's just like loving this, like loving it.
Loving it. Yeah, he loves the idea of being a dad and being
He's
married. And
he's also got this whole idea that, like, yeah, he's gonna land her. He wants to land her. Now he knows he's gonna land her, right?
And she's like, you better back that up, because just because we got married in some other timeline doesn't mean we were going to, and none of these things are necessarily going to happen.
Yeah.
And and she's like, he starts giving her the gears, and she's like, I never would have had sex with you if I thought you were going to get such a crush and be such a clingy douche. And so how about you just move on? I'm paraphrasing, of course. And of course,
this is the greatest line when he finishes this scene up, and he's just like, he knows it's going to happen. And he just gives her a little shot and walks out of the room with a big shit ass grin on his face again. Just he's happy as hell.
Yeah, he's like, I must have married you because all the other women were taken or something. He's like, you must have been my only option. Like that's what it must have been that.
He's overjoyed that he's gonna land the girl he wants.
Oh, the other question, guys, I had about because earlier in the episode in sickbay where Phlox reveals that Trip is the dad, right? And she goes, that's impossible. Vulcans and humans have never been able to have children, right? Yeah. Okay, first contact was only 90 years ago. How many Vulcans and humans have tried to have kids in those 90 years?
Apparently many.
Apparently a lot.
A couple.
A lot. Like it's already been ruled out as impossible, so.
Well, they're all getting drunk in Montana, so
yeah,
it makes sense.
So. And singing Ooby Dooby. Yeah, but I was just like, how many Vulcan human couples have there been? Yeah. Or was this just like, we're going to throw some partners together and see what comes out?
I think that, knowing them, they would probably just throw everything into a test tube and see if it worked.
Okay. Well,
maybe some Vulcans are into humans, obviously, right? Like,
but Sarek
had
marrying
had a
Spock's
second
mom.
wife that was also human.
Right, but
Yeah.
he was kind of Sarek was supposedly like one of the first to ever do that, like marry humans, right? Like,
Really?
he that's why it's always kind of presented as.
Dave,
like,
do you have to marry somebody to have sex with them?
You do not, but
There you go. That's your answer. Get drunk in Montana and try to have kids
and have Ponfar,
and Ponfar it up. Yeah.
yeah, and no babies will come of this.
Well, apparently some do.
Yeah, but apparently it needs a little medical intervention. You need to go to the
As the great Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park said,
life finds
life
way.
will find a way.
That's true.
There you go.
Anyway, and so over here in engineering, bodies are being dragged around because Lorien and his crew from the future have stunned all the engineering crew, and this is where Trip comes in after having the argument with.
I really
Paul.
hope you got the screen shot of Trip getting shot.
I do.
That's good.
Yeah,
I love the look on his face.
So Trip comes in with this other engineering guy, and they just stun this guy right away. And he's like, "What the hell?" And then Lorien's like, "Don't stun my dad, man. Don't stun him." You have a
I
theory
can't
about-
wait to hear
I wanna hear your
Sam's
theory about the
theory on Ponfar.
What a theory.
I can't wait.
So Trip's like, "What are you doing, son? This ain't good for you. This you're going down a bad path here, you know." And they're like, we're gonna get the injectors out of here. They steal them all. He's like, you know, and they're like, he's just gonna tell the rest when we leave. So yeah, he shoots him here. He's like, "Okay, Dad, sorry about this." And he gets out the phase pistol.
He's got
And
that
then-
gangster look to him too, eh? You
I
didn't get it.
That's not the
I
look.
wanted. That's not the one I wanted.
He
I thought
I
needs,
wanted the one just before he got shot. But anyway,
Lorien needs a timeout. His parents have lost control of him entirely.
Yes.
true.
He's giving his mom lip. He's shooting his dad with a phaser. Like, come on.
Like
Yeah.
shit's going down.
Yeah, he's a very bad 100-year-old or whatever. Centurion.
No dessert for you tonight, bun.
And then they find out, like, "Hey, we just lost our warp drive, Captain Archer. What do we do?" And we can't get through to engineering. And then we get the fight between the two Enterprises. You know, first with the red beams coming from old Enterprise, and then we see the
I'm so
blue
glad they
beams.
went the Star Wars route here, though, and colored all the phasers just so that way I knew what was going on.
Right.
Because like some of these scenes are dark and you don't know which Enterprise it is getting hit.
Yeah.
It's like-
Right. They're both taking these shots at each other back and forth, and I don't know. This battle was kind of underwhelming a little bit, but
I think
They
it's
all are.
supposed to be.
They all are.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, they shoot some things back and forth.
I
And
do
then
like the
Archer's-
final battle later on, though.
Archer's like, "You want to steal my injectors? I'm going to start stealing stuff from you with the transporter." Right.
I
like
love
that.
this idea, though. It's like this is something that I don't know why this didn't happen a lot more in Star Trek, because you have the ability to lock onto something that's not on your ship and take it.
Especially, I
Shields.
guess, with
Shields.
the idea of this ship is
Yeah.
in the future they would have the shields, but on Enterprise he knows exactly where a key part is.
Yeah,
right?
everything would be,
He has
yeah.
the schematics, so he can just say, "Get this one, get this one."
He could have also just brought Lorien over.
Yeah.
Yeah, why didn't you just zoom him?
How
up?
would you lock
Solve
onto
that
the
problem.
Vulcan guy and bring him over?
It's actually kind of more fun to just take pieces of the
Take
shit
random
away
shit until
and
the
watch
stuff's
them
not.
float around.
But,
Yeah,
but they
right.
stopped short. There was like they brought 3 things over, and then there was something else, and they left it. Like, well, why don't you just beam that over?
But he still has. But they're still able to like fire one last torpedo. He's like, "Hey,
that was
they
it.
still-
Why didn't you just why would
But
you
it
just beam the torpedo over?
yeah." He's like, "They
Just
still
put
have
it
one-
in. Just beam it into your bay. Like,
That's right. We need more.
They
Point it
still have
back
a
at 'em.
torpedo.
Props
Oh, well,
up.
fucking get it.
but we also have to understand the fact that this asshole has a ship that's now 100 years better than the ship that
Or
Archer's gonna
100
be in.
years more
Or
beaten
down.
up and older.
Well, it is more beaten up, but I'm willing to bet that his transporter's better,
Maybe he has. We see he has a tractor.
or
There
at
are some
least
upgrades.
equivalent.
We see a couple upgrades on Enterprise, including tractor beams and a few other things. So.
Yeah, they have tractor beams, which is something that
that would have been kind
The
of
NX
funny,
doesn't
Jody,
have.
if they were beaming things back and forth.
yeah they each just keep fucking grabbing
stealing
stuff.
stuff from each other. Yeah.
Eventually, somebody beams like a nacelle over, and
So he beams over the life support system, and they all
yeah,
just
everybody
suffocate.
just dies.
So they all, but his Lorien's first officer's like, "I'm not going to let you kill our ancestors. Doesn't seem logical." That's where Archer's up. Doesn't seem logical. Your plan. It's kind of dumb.
That's kind of
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, he's like,
Not sure what you're trying to achieve here.
Right. I don't
And
know.
then,
Like,
of course, here comes the traditional Archer. I'm going to talk to you while you're in the jail cell, and then we're going to be buddies. Because
He's
that
like-
seems to be what this jail cell's for. It's just to be a buddy. You're like, okay,
right? They
now
have
we
this
can be buddies.
conversation, and Archer's got that scowl, and then eventually he comes into the cell, like, and starts having he opens the door. He's like, I guess I could keep you in here, but I'm just gonna let you out. Like, we need to work together. You need to start being a dick. And then this is the scene here with old T'Pol and young T'Pol after the battle, where they kind of first they're going over numbers and calculations or whatever, and then she's like, well, you need to do this, and then there's a new technology that she's not familiar with, so she has to explain that to her.
If you ever get a chance, watch this scene again, though, because when T'Pol first walks in, you can clearly tell she's looking above the person that she's supposed to be talking to. Like, it's so apparent. Like, yeah, that's actually not bad. But just before that, she's like looking straight ahead, but old T'Pol's like way below her and to the left. Or
they probably
right,
didn't give a good mark on where her eyes
well, I'm
would
sure
be,
that's
or-
what happened, but it just
I did
took
like
me
this,
out of it.
I did like the scene too when she says, like, there's something I don't understand, and old T'Pol just sort of lifts her hand and just says, give me the damn
give it to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so she's like, how's your Trellium thing? Because she remembers all this, but I guess it was a long time ago for old T'Pol. So she's like kind of talking to her about
well, and you get the
addictions.
sense that this timeline isn't running the same way as old T'Pol's timeline was running. So
yeah,
there's
old
gonna be changes.
T'Pol's got a sweet Vulcan bedspread going on there.
But doesn't she also basically say to him or her, old T'Pol, don't be so hard on Trip. He's good for you.
Basically, yeah. Like that they had a good life together.
Right.
And
Kind of like Odo talking to Odo.
Yeah.
kind of like that. Exactly. Again, but if this episode existed in a vacuum, I think I would like it a lot more. But because it's part of the Star Trek thing, I'm like, oh. So, anyway,
It's not my favorite of this season, that's for sure.
yeah. Anyway, so they have that conversation. The Enterprise heads into the nebula, seemingly by themselves. We see the distortions here on the view screen, and they're waiting for these aliens to attack them, which of course they do. And they're taking some hits from the aliens. Oh yeah, and then he's like, "Hey Malcolm, how about you get those phase cannons down low?" He's like, "Oh, I'm having some trouble here, sir." And he's like, "Malcolm, like, how about you do? Like, you have one job: fire guns." And
One job, and you consistently fuck it up. Why?
Yeah, he's like, "I'm working on it, sir. I'm trying to target, And then we see, I guess this reveal here is that like the other Enterprise comes from below and then and take these aliens by surprise. But where was the other ship hiding, guys? Like, where is other Enterprise meant to be hiding here? Like
Underneath.
I should be able to see the nacelles or something.
Sure, you should be able to. We can't because of reasons.
But,
okay. He does say, like Lorian says, they were probably really surprised when
I was surprised
when your reflection turned around and started firing at them.
If I saw a reflection, I wouldn't. Like, I was surprised because I was like, when did the other ship get there? Because you don't see it come in. Anyway, so then they start working together. They start firing on these aliens so Enterprise can get on its way. But Enterprise, of course, as we know, is heavily damaged right now after their long fight with the Xindi a couple episodes ago. And these aliens are friends of the Xindi, I guess, or something, like the gatekeepers of this corridor. Anyway, so they're kind of going back and forth. They're like,
hang on a second. Did Degra even warn them about them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Right.
Okay.
But during this whole thing, Trip calls up and says, we lost our engines or something.
They say it in this episode that Degra had warned them about these people. They say it at the beginning of the episode.
No, but a couple episodes back, he said something about them as well.
Okay, I don't remember that, but they did say it in this episode too.
Yeah, they did in this episode.
This scene was very Picardish, when he, basically took the tractor beam and flung the ship.
I'm just gonna fling you into the thing, with momentum, right? Which is kind of, I was like, that works.
Just goes to show you, Picard season 3 just ripped off this episode.
There you go. Makes it less good.
Did they just throw a ship at us?
Did they just throw a ship at us? You know what? 20 years ago, Archer did that. Well, actually, technically not Archer.
It was Laura. It's the Lorian maneuver.
Lorian maneuver, yeah.
And it's only when you want to throw a ship into a vortex, technically, not add
into a precious vortex.
Yeah, precious vortex. Do I still have that on the soundboard?
I'll give you the ball. Then
Nope.
give me the ball.
I don't think that was the clip you were going for.
The fucking episode.
Oh boy.
You give me the ball, and then I give you the ball. Anyway, so we
Join
don't
us for Deep Space Nine and
9 and 9. Anyway, so we see here that like it looks like Enterprise gets like young Enterprise gets through the vortex. Lorian sees it happen, and we see like things are blowing up all around him. He's facing off all these alien ships, but
If you want to stop
Actually-
right there for a second. Lorian kind of looks a little bit like a Vulcan Ted Mater.
Oh my god, he does.
I don't know if I would draw
Holy
that
shit.
comparison.
Actually, can you go back? Can you go back a couple slides? One more. No, keep going. That one. Okay, go back to the whole part. No, the
You
whole.
want-
Like the anomaly
This?
thing. Yeah. Is that your expanse, Dave?
Is that my expanse?
You know, you were talking about it earlier. Your expanse.
The
Oh.
Xindi. No. Okay, that's it.
Anyway,
Isn't it?
sorry.
Anyway,
Bad joke, but still fun.
okay,
So,
but the fact.
so, Dave, one more thing here. So he was telling us that Jonathan Archer was his captain, right? At some point.
Right.
You know, he did not learn, or I'm very grateful that he learned to sit in the chair for the whole time.
Yeah, he doesn't like it too much. Okay,
It
but
does look an awful lot like Ted Mater.
the fact that
Damn it.
that this Enterprise does not disappear when young Enterprise goes through the vortex, hence changing the timeline.
But we
right?
don't see that. We
do
can't
see
see. No, we see them go through the vortex.
It just happened
and
right
then-
there.
Yes, but we don't see the other ship at this point. We don't see the ship.
We're looking at
after
him right now. Then it cut to
Wait,
here.
Isn't that it though?
that. That's it, though. Right
Yeah.
after that, that's it. You don't see any more of them.
So I don't think he did cease to exist.
I think he did.
Hey, remember that episode where Ted called Jody an idiot? That's the face.
That's the exact one. I knew I knew that from somewhere.
Yeah. So
I think when Enterprise emerges out of this anomaly thing, I think that's when the other one ceased to exist.
Yeah, I think it's an Enterprise C type thing. You know, it's just gone.
It's gone.
I think that's what should happen. I agree. That's kind of what happens normally in these time travel stories, but I don't think that's what happens here. I think that they plan to maybe bring this guy back. We'll find out in fun facts.
All
But
Really?
Someone didn't read them first.
right, but they can't detect them. They assume that if they didn't cease to exist, they were probably destroyed. They're probably all dead.
Yeah.
And
They discuss that here, like,
yeah.
because she says, "Well, if they cease to exist, how do we remember them?"
Well, if they cease to
and-
exist, then how could they help you get through the thing in the first place? Like,
Right?
you know, so it's I don't know, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah,
Timey-wimey
best not
stuff.
to think about it.
Best not to think about it.
That's not
Anyway.
bad about it.
And then they head out and they're like, oh, guys, there's a ship. And they're hoping it's Lorian and the other Enterprise. But no, it's Degra. He is here. And they're like, hey, you made it early.
You're a little bit early.
And
So-
he's-
Like I was almost expecting him to go, "Oh my God, Degra, you wouldn't believe the day we've had."
No, of course not. They just cut to black. Fucking Enterprise. Just
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. We're done.
yeah.
Like we're gonna take our ball. and
45
go
minutes
home.
over. Done.
And that's
Like,
that's the episode. Yeah.
is.
But okay, so how about the trivia, the fun facts as we call them?
Fun facts with Adam. Where is the banner?
Sure.
There it is.
Thank you.
This is where you start, Adam.
Okay, let's start over here. Okay, this is more of a nitpick thing, but when they're talking about the Enterprise is basically flung back in time for 137 years. The crew is focused on the mission of destroying the first Xindi probe after it launched, but before it reached Earth. So with all that time, they had plenty. They basically had ways to figure out all the ways they could do it, but they didn't do it. And we didn't really talk about that too much, other than the fact that he just missed it, and he wished he would have blown up his crew.
He says, I would have to sacrifice my ship. I don't know why that was like they had 137 years to plan
Exactly.
their move.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with all of that, didn't happen.
They're piss poor planners, just like Malcolm.
Mhm.
When the Enterprise passes through the subspace corridor and ends up in the past, Travis reports that the stars are not where they're supposed to be. Considering that no Earth vessels have ever charted the area of the star's position, how would they have known that in the first place?
Yeah, I think Mayweather doesn't know what he's talking about.
And Jody, I think you called it out at the beginning, but the Lorian was an homage to the Elvish forest in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep. That I knew.
Yeah.
And I also know the vest as well.
Okay, here we are. The vest worn by Lorian is a reuse of the vest often worn by Jake Sisko.
The Jake Sisko vest?
It is.
I thought for a second it was Spock's Kolinar vest. But yeah.
No, Jake Sisko in the final seasons of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that guy and the guy who played Jake Sisko when he was bigger are the same size. They must have had to tailor the shit out of that thing.
Yeah, I think
Jake
Sir
Sisko
Hawkins,
when he's older is a pretty big guy.
He's a very tall guy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one Tony Todd wore.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah.
It's Tony Todd, Jake Sisko.
Okay, so Dave, I think you had a picture of this earlier, but when Trip and Lorian are working in engineering, one of the tools that Trip takes from the toolbox and puts back is actually a Radio Shack decibel or sound level meter. It has a short cylindrical protrusion at the upper curved edges, and this carries on the tradition that using Radio Shack gadgets for Star Trek props.
Oh,
in the original series, one of the props. Yeah, now you want to see it.
Yeah, now I want to see it. Let's bring it in.
I know that they use the head thermometers a lot too.
Oh yeah, I miss Radio Shack.
Radio Shack was fun.
So wait,
Yeah.
is this thing like a Radio Shack thing? Is that what we're right here?
I don't think this is the same scene. No, but
No, this is
but
the
that's what
scene.
I'm talking
That's
about.
it. That's exactly what that is. It's a
That
sound
is
meter.
it?
Yeah,
That looks like a forehead thermometer to me.
They didn't have those back then.
What? Infrared thermometers?
you
Yes,
weren't
they
invented
did.
yet, man.
Well,
This
when-
is
I don't know.
2004. Yes, they did. Come on. Like in the 80s, yeah. Like if that showed up in the original series, I'd be a little skeptical, but
This is ancient times, 2004, man.
Before COVID, we didn't have anything like that.
Long before.
oh, true, yes. I forgot
Okay.
those were invented during COVID.
No, Okay, the squared representation in the episode names can be visually considered as half a character, making the E squared visually shorter than Q2, which I think was a Voyager episode,
Yes.
by only half a character. So it's the shortest episode title in the Star Trek franchise. Wow, that's a really vague.
That is a very obscure fact that nobody needs to care about.
Now we
I like
know,
that.
guys. No, that was fun. That was very fun.
That is in Dave's vault forever.
Yeah. We will.
Sam says, "What's Radio Shack?"
Shut up, Sam. Come
I
on.
thought Dave would like that.
Screw you, Sam.
Radio Shack.
Yeah.
You probably
Oh,
have
boy.
something
How
called
old's
the
Xindi?
Source
All right.
near you.
Stop making us feel old.
Yeah.
All the Radio Shacks turned into the Source at one point.
Are the Source even still open?
Yeah, there's one in
there's one
Mall.
in the mall.
Some are. Some of the sources are still open, yeah.
I'm not sure why.
Okay, so
anybody
Paul
would stop
mentions
there, but-
humans and Vulcans have never been able to reproduce.
Again, how many have tried up
Okay,
until this point?
Sorry.
A lot of drunken people in Colorado.
Oh, and here's Sam's theory on Ponfar.
So
He thinks that
implying
Ponfar is
there
just
never be human couples.
he thinks Ponfar is just emotions not being able to be held
All
back.
right.
The reason is because some Romulans and Vulcans are related, and Romulans do not go through Ponfar. Well, we don't know for sure that Romulans don't go through Ponfar, but they don't.
They might have their own version of it.
But yeah, you're right. They never mention it. Yes, and you're right. It's not a theory. When Vulcans go through Ponfar, they do lose their logic and reason.
Yeah.
Especially the men, I think.
Sam has a question for us. What is the worst episode title in Star Trek?
Oh, it's probably the one that's the lamb cares not for the butcher's knife or something from
Yeah.
Discovery, or like
That was a dumb one.
definitely the most pretentious title.
There's a bunch of original series episodes that have some really weird fucking names too.
Mhm.
So
I don't
Sorry,
know.
Adam.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so T'Pol and Tucker, who were married, albeit in the alternate timeline, have the first human Vulcan hybrid Lorian. His ultimate fate remains unknown, be it dead, alive, or erased from history. Dr. Flux's accomplishment foreshadows the events in Terra Prime, where the DNA from T'Pol and Tucker is used to create another first human Vulcan hybrid called Elizabeth.
Right.
So,
but Spock is
I'm of the mind.
technically-
Yeah, Spock, but this is way before Spock. And
right. But isn't Spock supposed to be the first actual?
Yeah,
I guess the one who...
Spock was supposed to be the first, but this is really breaking that down. So.
But is it? Because now the guy doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
Or does
I know
he?
the mind doesn't exist. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Did we come back
ambiguous.
to it? I don't think.
If they showed us like when that older Molly O'Brien disappeared, I was like, she's gone. She is gone. So we'll never have to deal with this old Molly O'Brien again. This cave woman.
Yeah. Now you throw me the ball.
Yeah, you throw me the ball. Hmm?
I'll give you the ball, then you give me the ball. Huh?
Riveting dialogue.
That's exceptional writing right there.
Anyway, let's go down to ratings, Dave.
All right, you got it. Let's bring it in. All right, E squared, the shortest title in all of Star Trek.
Oh shit! Now he knows that. We're gonna hear that a lot.
Episode 21. Jody, you're up first.
6.5, I think.
6.5 from Jody. Adam.
I started this podcast liking it a lot more than I do now. So thanks, guys. So I'm gonna.
We're always there for you.
Glad to be of service.
You do this to me sometimes. I noticed. I'm taking it down to 7.5.
You often bring me up, Adam, in an episode and make me think it's better than it is. So that's a good thing. You know what? I kind of do like this episode, even though it's a ripoff. I like the concept of it.
Every episode's a ripoff. You can't use that.
That's why they did it. That's why they did it again, Dave.
Yeah. So I think it's an 8. Kevin.
Go 7.
7, and I don't think Davin has given us a rating. So we're averaging at a 7.3. So somewhat mediocre. We felt this was.
No,
By
you
the
know
way,
what?
I'm my string of 10.
Sorry, Dave. I got to resubmit. I'm an 8 as well.
Adam's going up to 8. Yeah, and Kevin, you were 3 10s in a row. You got a time travel story, and you're down to 7.
I know, and I usually love time travel stories. That's almost a guaranteed 10.
By the way, I have an emergency fun fact.
Oh,
there was another fun fact too. I want to come back to.
This one's for Adam. The infrared thermometer was invented in 1984. Thank you.
Wasn't invented
Mic
yet.
drop.
So here's another fun fact. I forgot.
Yeah, Jody's a dick. There's your fun fact.
In the future, or the past T'Pol, the old T'Pol, she's got blue eyes, and on the young T'Pol has brown eyes.
Oh,
what happened there?
Cataracts.
Cataracts.
I think so, because her eyes look cloudy, right?
Her eyes look cloudy, yeah. So I'm guessing that they're
they aged her too much. That's another thing. 7.5. Jeez.
She's only supposed to be 100 and 7.5.
Come
He's taking
to
it
the
down.
dark side, Adam. Come to the dark side.
Going to 7.5.
You so want to be positive, but then there's always that one thing, right?
Yeah.
That really bothered me, actually. That really
the
did
aging was terrible.
Yeah, too much.
Apparently,
Way too
there's a
much.
hashtag which is Jody is the Jody with the sass. I like that.
I don't know whose episode was this. To Paul's, I guess. But
Lorian.
Lorian?
Yeah. Lorian Archer.
Yes, yeah.
Lorian and Archer. Yeah.
Apparently, we didn't fill out the other parts. I guess it's all just the part. The other ones.
All right.
The
Well,
previous part we didn't fill out either.
I think it's funny that Mike Sussman didn't want to do it, and he was told to. You do this.
Yeah. He's like, that's just ripping off an episode. He's like, do it anyway. You work for us.
We already wrote it. Too bad.
This episode on IMDb has the same rating as the last episode at a 7.9, even though we liked the last episode but forgotten much better.
It was much better
overall.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you. So the council we already mentioned, Jody, is the next episode.
That
right?
is the next episode, and the description is a very easy one. It's Archer confronts the Xindi Council. That's the whole episode premise.
It's just him talking to the council and like the
Well,
the
there's more
whales.
to it from what I remember. But
those aquatic Xindi going like whale songs or whatever, and then the insectoids go clickety click click click.
I'd be
in the
down for
future,
like
we'll meet a guy named Scotty, and he'll let us travel in ships. Just like
I'd be
we do
down
now.
for like a courtroom drama type episode where Archer just makes his case for a 40 for
12
45
Angry
minutes.
Men.
Yeah.
Sure.
I like
That could be
those
good.
episodes.
Yeah,
That'd be
That'd
all
be
right.
good. I don't think I've ever seen the next episode, at least not full length. So I'm looking forward to
12
that.
Angry Xindi.
Speaking of episodes, Dave, we got a lot of stuff coming up on this channel.
We do. We were a little cool the last week or so or two, but we're
been in
keeping
hot
things up.
mode
We're
and
back here with
stuff.
Enterprise,
Yeah.
of course, and we're only got 5 episodes left in this Enterprise rewatch. After this, so
What?
In this season.
in this season,
We got another season still.
I know, but
We're gonna be doing this for at least another half a year, just so you know.
Oh, I know that, but get through season 3, I guess, is what I'm.
We're almost
right
through
now.
season 3. Yeah.
Because we got through season 6 of Deep Space Nine, and we're going to come back and finish Deep Space Nine for season 7 at some point. Just got to figure out what we're
You're on hiatus right now.
But don't worry, we have other new Star Trek shows
Which
coming
comes
up.
to another hashtag that showed up earlier, which is "Where's Jeff?" By the way, never on this show.
He's never been on the show.
Never been on this show.
I don't think he's
Really
ever
asked
watched
that
this show, right?
No.
I'm
No.
not even sure he has. No.
But Star Trek Strange New Worlds, guys, starts its 2nd season this Thursday, and we're going to be here on Live Long and Podcast to cover it. Adam and
I'm
Davin
excited
and
for
I.
it, with the exception of one thing, and you already know what it is.
I know.
The live action fucking Lower Decks thing.
Oh
That's
yeah, the
just
crossover.
stupid.
The crossover, yeah.
It's gonna be
Um,
stupid. Mark my
It's
Well, I
going to
don't
be the
think that-
greatest thing I've ever seen.
No, it isn't.
It might be good. We'll see. And
Just
we'll
dumb and pointless.
have to find out once we watch it. Could be.
I
fun.
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, they might prove you right. We'll have to see. But it's gonna be good. And so we'll be back on Thursday
Either
at
way, I'm
7:30
excited
to
for
talk about the 2nd season episode. I think it's called The Full Circle.
Now is 7:30 going to be the new timeline? For
Well,
that
it's
one?
just because we have a hockey game this Thursday.
I know
so
we have one this game. Yeah.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
just this week at 7:30.
Yeah,
I think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
because I have a hockey game at 9, so I have.
Because we
to try to-
normally play hockey on Tuesdays, but we're going to be playing on
this
Thursday
week I'm on a
this week.
Thursday, which happens to be the day that I have.
And then the week after we're on a Tuesday, and then we're back to a Thursday again.
To Pringle. That's right. And then I think that's mostly it on Live Long and Podcast at the moment. We do Star Trek Radio Theater, we do our trivia debates.
But we're part of a consortium, Dave.
That's right. Well,
A federation.
federation.
Some would call it.
Like a mining consortium?
like the
We do
Andorian
not run.
Consortium runs from no one.
Runs from no one, Kevin.
The United Federation of Podcasts, very
We
much
should
the
have called
same.
it a mining consortium. That would
All kinds of great shows coming out on the United Federation podcast, featuring great podcasters like David Skellhorn, Andre Mayette, and
Me.
others.
me.
Jody Simpson,
Forgot me.
Adam
And Dave
Woodward,
Mader.
the people you
Dave
see
Mader's pretty
here,
good.
plus others like
Kevin. Kevin's in there too. Yeah.
Chris, the World Mind Murphy,
Yep.
you
he's in
know,
there.
and
Yep.
and others. Josh Foster,
Your wife even makes an appearance once in a while.
she's on there. We got the Trivial Debates. We got the Super Mater Brothers podcast.
Yeah. By the way, the trivial debates thing, I think I'm gonna have to jump in for the next one because you guys are just doing this all wrong.
Oh, sure, please do.
Like
Uh,
it's these themed episodes are killing me. They're not funny.
Sometimes.
Now they're not.
But
They're
anyway,
depressing.
so the Mary Mader Marvel Society will be we're on Friday. We're going to be talking about the new Spider-Man Spider-Verse movie with Davin
yeah.
and Jaemeel. I'll be
I already
on-
saw part of it.
over on that to talk about it.
Pretty cool.
There's the Hellbound podcast with Alex and Michael on Wednesdays where they talk about horror. X-Rated tomorrow on X-Rated the animated series. Andre and Davin are doing like an open call in or something, and you can drop in if you're a Federation member, I guess, and ask
Oh.
them anything about X-Men. So
I like
think about
X-Men.
Think about drop
Maybe I'll
in
jump
on
in.
them tomorrow, Jody.
I might just do that.
Andre's got the Graphic Histories podcast. He just got finished up at the Nova Scotia Comic-Con this weekend. He was doing a bunch of stuff
Oh.
down there. And then Hold Up. They're on this Wednesday to talk about movies, 3 movies. Davin and Chris the Worldwide Murphy, that is.
I'm guessing based on how you've presented that, you don't actually know what they're talking about, though.
I don't. I was like,
Okay.
Oh, I
what
hope
are they
this
covering?
I hope this isn't the one I'm supposed to be on because I will not be ready.
It is the My Neighbor Totoro,
Oh, that's
Princess Mononoke,
Mononoke and Redline.
and Redline.
So I guess
That's
they're
not
doing
me. I've never heard of
movies.
any of those movies.
What's that? What theme is that?
No idea.
If I had to guess, anime.
Anime.
Oh, I think Eamon's gonna be on that one then.
Because My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, and Redline are all anime.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Eamon has his own podcast called Eamon on Track, where he talks about
does.
music albums.
Surprisingly interesting, actually. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed my time on it.
Yeah, it's a good show. Check it out. And I think he's doing
Adam
one with Gavin.
was on it recently too, I think.
I think he's the most recent one. Yeah,
I'm gonna go back if he wants me back. I'd like to go.
Yeah. I gotta go back. I want to do a couple albums with him and stuff. So we're just.
How many times can you cover the band, Dave?
We haven't done it once yet. So
okay.
You know,
I look forward to seeing that.
But we're gonna do the last waltz when we do it. So, and we might bring Jeff in for that one.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah. Oh, he's doing anime with Eamon. Yeah, that's right. One N for his version.
See,
I
knew that.
And I think that's it, guys. Unless I missed anything. Well, it was a pleasure, gentlemen. And we'll go out on a quote here. I had to pull that whole T'Pol.
It better not be the ball thing again. And if I have to hear about your gaping expanse,
no, okay.
I'm gonna be upset.
We'll go out on this quote, which was I've been saving it for the end here. T'Pol and Trip. We'll see you next time, everybody.
Should have known this was a mistake.
What?
Exploring human sexuality with you. You're obviously unable to have a physical relationship without developing an emotional attachment.
You know, all the other women on board must have been taken. Because I can't imagine any other reason why I would have married someone as stubborn as you. I'll go help Rostov with the port manifold. You seem to have everything under control.
Yeah, we do. Live long and podcast, everyone. See you next time.